How's it going, guys? Going to do a quick video update. It's been a while. It's been a bit difficult price action here, in my opinion. So let's just bring some context into what we're currently seeing. So we have been pricing in rate cuts, and we saw some bad price data coming in the past few months. Okay, and now the market or the Federal Reserve has reversed their stance and said we will just hold put and keep the rates unchanged until we see that we are on the right track towards the 2% inflation. Okay, so they're going to use growth data, job numbers, and CPI PMI data. Okay, to see when they're gonna do some rate cuts. So what we're currently seeing is that they're potentially going to wait all the way until November to start doing these the rate cuts. Okay, so that's the market in a nutshell at the moment, right? So so the market is trying to digest this and price that in, and that's why you're seeing this kind of PA. Okay, so let's just bring a very quick context to the outside of Bitcoin. Just a quick look at the dollar S&P and the yield. So you can see that there's nothing major changed here on S&P 500 on Nasdaq. We are down. We sold off to a few percent from the highs. Let's check from the highs. Yeah, it's only close to 10%, which is not too much, to be honest. It's not much. So we have room to go lower, but the way price has been grinding, I hope that potentially there's a sort of a short-term bottom in the near future. We can see on the 4-hour chart here that we had a lot of divergence, price coming back in. We moved quite nicely yesterday, then gave everything back. If you go to the 8-hour chart, the same, we have some decent buy signals that came in. We pumped on that. Now we're creating sort of a bearish formation here, which I don't quite like, and still the COT data is pretty elevated yet. Okay, so we don't have anything to go from at that point. All right, so let's just do a quick look at the dollar chart as well, just to bring some context here. So on the dollar chart, let's do the weekly. So we're just sitting at this range highs. Okay, so we're still sitting at these range highs. If you look closely, we sold off. So this can turn into sort of a bearish sort of formation coming slightly lower here into some of these core levels of liquidity based on a weekly. So this kind of look bullish, but let's see how things unfold, to be honest, right? So if you do get, a massive expansion on the dollar chart, that would lead us towards closing in some of the gap, either just a stop rate above the previous highs, or we probably got a pricing close to 110. That would be very extreme. I don't really think that's happening, but that's on the chart. So let's see, if we can break down below this formation, then we can sort of pricing coming back down a few percent lower on the dollar chart. That will be bullish for most of these other ones. Okay, so if you look at the dollar chart, it doesn't look too bullish on from daily and lower. Thus weekly can give vibes of bullish. Okay, so that's sort of the context that we are looking for. Right? So if yields are pressing higher towards the 5+%, that's going to bring down the risk on assets. Okay, so that's where we at. So let's go back to the dollar chart here on Bitcoin and just take a sort of a closer look at what we are seeing. So let me just explain a few things here just to make stuff a bit clear. So when we're having weekly candles like this, they tend to they tend to close in that fashion, and then from next week, when you're having these kind of candles, you need to trade week by week basis, meaning that when you're having these close, you want to see if you start getting acceptance above and doing some candles closing above, right? Or else if you open the next week, if you're going to start trading below that into some core levels. Now the other issue here on Bitcoin is that we actually don't have any major support before 40k, And on a lower time frame, we have this tag at the 50, which is a massive level in terms, not massive though, but it's an important consolidation on a daily and lower. But the weekly is just actually it's just sort of point of control of 3 candles with this clean SR to the left, right? So it's an important level, but in terms of the structure we're currently in, it's just a large void, right? So the void is from that high all the way to this current low, right? Which is kind of annoying. And then even from that standpoint, right, the major level is all the way back down at 30K, which would be extremely bad, but I'm just pointing out sort of the structures within the leg that we are trying to look for. Okay, so since the distance is so great and so massive, we just have to sort of trade it slightly more different than other times. Okay, so the other part also, if you look on the weekly is not the same as other lower time frame because the magnitude of what happens on next bars are extreme. Okay, so just going to give a few visual examples. So you had this stop rate, you came back down into this SR, and that looked extremely bad. From that, we rallied 2 weeks to the highs, then we sold off aggressively for 2 weeks. Okay, and now the other thing is that you also have to look at how many consecutive bearish candles have we actually had, right? So you have, for example, from the highs of 2021, I 1, 2, 3, 3 bearish candles before at least getting a retest. So that's 1, 2, 3, yeah, let's see 4. Okay, and then in the main bear market, right? You're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 10 candles. Okay, which was the last massive leg of the bear market, right? So the largest bear market sell-off was 10 consecutive candles, right? So at the moment, since we can say that often you can get larger sell-off, but then you get the expansion and then you're coming all the way back down, right? And the magnitude of the move can be extreme, 20-30%. But when you're getting more of a prolonged sell-off of a range as we currently created, we're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's sort of we're getting on the extreme side, right? It's not often, even if you look to the past, that we don't often get such prolonged consecutive bearish candles, right? So if you look here, even we often get some kind of a bullish candle in between, right? So the massive sell-off from the famous 6K level, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 candles. On the other hand, here on the Corona expansion, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles as well. Okay, so we're getting on the extreme side of consecutive bearish candles, which actually a few extreme ones, right? So the second was kind of extreme, and the current weekly was also kind of extreme. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on, and it's difficult really to place a strong thesis of what we are seeing. All right. So let's bring up the concept here on some of these this buy and sell signals. So obviously it's kind of clear you had the massive weekly buy signals at the bottom. Okay, we had a few of them, and as we were coming up, we started to create some divergence. We had a small sell signal here due to the candle formation there, and then at the highs we had some bearish divergence. But that's about it on a weekly, right? So we're not too extreme. We were much more extreme in the previous bull market. Now, if you go to the daily chart here, there's a few good stuff that we can actually discuss. So the point, just let me finish. I nearly forgot the point of this. So the point of this is that I would like to see next week or next 2 weeks should be sort of bullish, right? So if you can close some of a bit lower side and we go lower, I think we should see some at least a retest back into 62K, even if we're going to go lower. Okay, just as a general sense of classical price action. Now on a daily, you can see here that we're getting we had a buy signal higher, but keep in mind that the first buy signals are not always as relevant even though it looked good at the time being. And the buy signal was just the candle formation closing above and engulfing the previous while firstly moving lower. But more importantly, we're getting some divergence, right? So this is a proxy of commercials. And we're getting some green movement on the last move down, and we're also getting extreme. This is price moving away from the Bollinger Bands, okay, and showing the magnitude of it. The larger the magnitude selling away from the Bollinger Bands, the larger the buy signal is going to be in terms of a green hill at the lower part here. And then we combine that with clear buy signals, which is of candle closes, right? So we're starting to develop some good stuff here on the daily. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if you look to the daily, it's been a long time since we actually saw some green movement moving away from the Bollinger Bands on a daily, right? So you had that the last time was when we were trading at 25,000, and before that at the 20,000, okay? And before that, you can see here that we had the extreme. But in a bear market, we always extreme, right? And then we had that before that was around the 34,000 was the first time after the sell-off. So if you look here closely, just want to point out the confluence here. So the major time we saw that was the consolidation before 130% uptrend, right? And this last time we saw that come in around these given levels. It was a 20% price move. Next time gave a 40% price move. This was a smaller, but at this point in a bear market, it just shows sort of the divergence. But still, when you're getting these larger ones, it give a 15% bounce, right? The next one gave 43% bounce, right? And then you're starting, to create this. But then you're having the larger one coming in here, which gave, right, 184% bounce, okay? And then you have the next one with that 200% bounce, okay? So we're starting to get some of these signals just showing, that the magnitude that we are moving away, right? So it's the strength of the sell-off that creates this as a sort of a rubber band effect. That's what it shows. Basically, it just shows that price is getting pulled in the opposite direction very strongly. So often after that, price bounces back due to sort of a rubber band effect, okay? But we need like the confluence to get a strong buy signal is the confluence together with the buy signals, right? With a bomb or arrows, right? Which essentially just shows candle closes, okay, relative. Most of the time, you would prefer to see you want them to be more relevant, right? Because a few times when you're having very low volume, right? If you're having these extremely low or these small body candles closing above and below each other, it can trigger false buy signals, right? So you want a relative strong, right? So after sell-off, two small body candles right there, one closing above each other, that's decent, right? But when you're getting into a prolonged something like that, it can be a false sort of signal, such as these ones. They look great, but it just traps you into a consolidation. The same goes for this one. You can see that it's not that great sort of a buy signal, because look at these candles, right? This one, which gave, is right there, right? It's not a good signal. Now the whole structure did look good at that point, all right? But again, it just comes straight down. Once having that 1, 2, 3, 4 times failing to drop lower is usually a bad sign. All right, just to give some more context here. So the point here is that you want to see 1 or 2 more daily candles, right? So if you can get some of these bullish candles into the next week close, right? So if you get slightly lower, slightly higher, closing some small body candles into the weekly close, and then the next close, so that means that on a lower time frame that will build some momentum. closing, something like that, right? And then when you're having that bullish close into the next week and the next weekly candle closes higher, you might get an expansion higher even if price were supposed to go lower, right? That's sort of what you want to see on the bullish side. On the bearish side, you're just looking for the formation of sort of candles being, the open failed to close higher, like you're getting a small bounce, lower sell-off, small close lower, small sell-off, right? That's sort of the bad part. Same goes for weekly, okay? That's the context. Now, on the 8-hour chart, you're starting to get here some buy signals. You can see this, the price move on a, on a Bollinger Band was also very extreme. Okay, you can see the shade of the color of the green, and the magnitude as well is coming up in towards 73, which is pretty large. It's not, it's better if it gets, more in towards to the 90s mark. That would be even better. But still, as you can see here, that once it gets into the 90 mark, it's really good. But also when you go into the 70s, you don't want to complain about it. You had a few decent buy signals coming in through divergence below here, and we had a fairly good bounce at that point of 10%. Now we're seeing the same, just a more extreme. A 10% bounce from this, would take us in towards 63,000, right? So I think we can see something to come around, pretty quickly, okay? And at the same time, we have to acknowledge as well as the 50K big figure as well. It's not far away, okay? So to do a 10% move here as a last cascade of liquidation wouldn't be too bad at this point. That's sort of the issue right now. Altcoins has been holding pretty good if you compare that. If you go into the altcoins, most of these ones you can see on a price change, you're having a few here being on the green side. A few of them being at more than a few percent. So overall, we can argue of a potential kind of sort of divergence here going on in general. Okay, so we're not looking extremely bad at this point, and in the sense that we could see some relief coming in very soon. All right, so we're seeing this buy signal on the 8-hour back to the 4-hour. You're seeing we're getting extreme again, right? So you can see how extreme the 4-hour is getting towards the 80 mark, which is good. So look at this, right? So you're seeing each time you're getting this one extreme, you always get sort of a price bounce. Now, when we're getting, you have to give that the relative confluence and understanding all the way from the weekly at this point, right? Because usually when we get such a bad bearish candle, it also correlates and goes over towards to the other side. And to the other side, I mean to the next week, okay? So we have to see how this sort of unfolds as well. Now, if you look back, I don't have it right there, but in the previous all-time high retests as well, yeah, you can have it. This, I think it's not the same, but it's one example, right? So if you look back, this was the previous sell-off in the previous cycle in 2021. It's not the same, to be honest, because the weekly and the monthly is slightly better. But I just want to show you the magnitude of a sell-off coming down here, 31%. Okay, and we're looking kind of similar. It's not the same, but kind of similar. And then from this, you can see our price just sort of reverses and moves all the way back up, right? So that's something just to give some context, that candle formation, is not always the most important part, right? So we created sort of some sideways pattern before coming back down, which is ultimately shows a lot of weakness, but you want to see some decent closes, right? So I'm not gonna discuss too much more. You can see how we try to create sort of a base here on the 1-hour chart. Price really trying to break higher. So I think we're not looking too bad at the moment. I think we're looking, or price is trying to find stabilize itself. So let's go to the weekly, just scan through some of these altcoins just very quickly before I end this video. So we're getting into this extreme levels here, sell off. I think we can start moving sort of sideways, that volatility. So you're having from low volatility to high volatility, right? And then we always go back into low volatility most of the time. And I think that's the phase we are currently in. So let's see if we can get some good signals here on. Yeah, no signals. No, I was hoping to maybe, if we're lucky, to get some buy signals on any of this. So Tron is looking pretty good, which is crazy. TIA getting some bullish. Yeah, I'm trying to find some chance there. I just want to see if I get some buy signals on a weekly, because that would be insane at the moment. So I think here you can see price trying to find sort of support above this previous highs. So Bitcoin is one of those that looks the worst, but also one of those that moved the most as well, right? So you can't really say too much about it. Yeah, so we're just trying to find support. If you're looking across all of these altcoins, we have this massive sell of Matic. It's not looking too bad. Matic is starting to look pretty good, to be honest. OP looking good. It's not too good. Maybe a bit lower. Yeah, these ones. The gaming ones are really bad. Check Runa. Yeah, Runa as well, trying to find support. All right, I think Matic is looking pretty good, to be honest. I would think, yeah, it's looking pretty good. Okay, so I will see how things unfold before making any new decisions. So just hope this video helped, just as an explanation of what is sort of going on and the overall picture. And now we just have to wait for some more price action, some more data, to make good decisions and not, take bad losses. Okay, guys, let's talk later. Peace out.